Hey guys, this episode's going to be buzzworthy. And you know why? Because we've
No
got
pun intended.
I know. We've got Michael Buzinski on here, otherwise known as Buzz, integrated marketing expert and search marketing expert. And we're going to talk about SEO today, Buzz. Woo!
Woohoo! Everybody's so excited about SEO, right? Like it's the most exciting thing to talk about.
It is boring, kind of, but I don't think it's boring because it gets me leads.
Right? Exactly. Like, and people are like, Buzz, you were a pretty dynamic personality. How did you get into search marketing? I said,
I know.
because it works.
Yeah.
I like to work with things that work. They're like,
yeah.
oh, okay. All right. Sounds good.
Because
Let's
I
do it.
always I ask people, oh, where'd you hear about me? Or whenever I have sales calls and what have you. And they're like, well, I Googled this and Googled that. And I'm like, yes.
Nice.
I
Yes.
know.
I have my legacy company is a media company, and it still has the website up, and we haven't touched it in years. And we get in season, there's seasons in marketing to where there's like more people look for our type of services more in certain times of the year.
Yeah.
And in season, we get 1 to 2 new leads still from that old website we haven't touched in over 5
Right?
years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So obviously my show is about podcasters and helping podcasters leverage the heck out of it and get more clients and so forth. So tell us, why do podcasters need to pay attention to SEO?
Well, there's this thing called the YouTube that happens to be the second largest search engine in the world's, owned by the first largest search engine in the world's. And so they just recently added podcasts as one of their channels. Now, most of us are recording like this right here through a Zoom or Riverview. Is it Riverview?
Riverside?
I don't know. I can't remember what it's called.
I know what you mean.
Yep. I use StreamYard. I'm a big StreamYard fan. So any of those, right? We're using video. Okay. StreamYard allows us to actually live stream to social media and YouTube. So it can go directly to, right? All that said, though, is that once YouTube has identified your video as a podcast, it does it automatically just by the format.
Yeah.
You now have a search engine, which means you are searchable through that search engine for people who don't know you. All they're looking to do is get answers to their questions.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the problem with directories, podcast directories? What's the biggest problem? They're what? They're not searchable, for one. I mean, you can search if you've optimized your title of your show, but I mean, there's already simple marketing and SEO, blah, blah, blah. Like if you want to watch those, that's great. But then you can't search the titles.
No.
With the answers you're looking for, right?
Can't search for the content.
Yeah. Can't search that content, right? And so with that said, you can, if you do it right, you can with YouTube. And so if you have a show that, like you're saying, leverage podcast, right? Well, you're answering different questions. Today, we're going to talk about leveraging SEO for your podcast. So if this gets on, if you optimize this one with a title that is actually searched on a regular basis,
exactly,
you can come up on the search engine, and you'll get more listens on the search engine than you will in your podcast directory, because anybody who doesn't know you, you're one of millions with an S out there.
Harder to
find. And so to build your podcast channel, we all know is very difficult organically. But you can build your YouTube podcast channel much faster. I have a friend right now has a podcast. He already has something like 350 subscribers. He's only been on for a month and a half.
Wow, that's impressive.
And as a podcast, like to have 350. Yeah, we can't even track how many subscribers we have. Right? There's nothing that reliably tells us, hey, this is how many subscribers you have. Right?
Agreed.
But in a YouTube channel, you know exactly how many subscribers you have. You can also talk to them. You can identify
that. Yeah.
Right? So now you have this direct link with your listeners and communication with your listeners. How huge is that? Especially if the first time they interact with you, you answered one of their burning questions. right? And now you're the expert in that because you solved that you answered that one question that is leading to a solution to the problem they have. Right. And that's the whole point of, podcasting for a lot of business owners is that thought leadership.
Agreed.
And the thought leadership is only as good as the amount of people come back and say, yes, I'd like to use your thought leadership in solving my problems. Right. And so if you're not doing that, then it's a hobby, and that's great, or you're monetizing directly through sponsorship, which is fine. But the rest of us, 80%, are trying to find people who we can help.
Exactly.
Okay. So the best way to do that is find people who are actively looking for help in what you offer. And that's where you leverage SEO. So most people title, the biggest secret is titling.
Yeah.
Titling your episode and or your YouTube video exactly how people are typing in the question. And how do you do that? Well, you got to get somebody who knows SEO and do the research for you, or you can spend hours doing it yourself.
Yeah.
But most podcasters, right. Most podcasters are already using their spare time to put the podcast together and promote it and all the other things. And there's damn it, you buzz. I do not have any time to do any more things. I'm doing my podcast. Screw you, pal.
There's a lot of little nuances, right?
Right. And the thing is if you, right now, most podcasters are basically a tail wagging a dog. They're trying to get exposure in an overcrowded Red Sea. There's no blue water in the sea of podcasting. But the great thing is that we all have a very specific talent. We have a niche, right? So for me, I work with service-based businesses in search marketing. Okay. Now that's not as hyper niche as some of the other friends who I have one that only works with Montessoriums. I said that right. There's only 4,500 of those in the United States.
Montessori schools?
Montessori schools. There's only 4,500 of them in the United States. Okay.
That is niche.
He built an SEO company that only served those 45. Yeah. Targeted only those 4,500. Yeah. Now he only needed 100, 200 of those out of that. So less than 4% of those. Right. And he was, multi-million-dollar agency, and he sold it.
Sweet.
Done. Right. That's the power of niche. Yeah. Well, if you use SEO to do the same thing, find the specific questions, the specific problems you solve for a small swath of people is much easier to talk to than trying to be everything to everyone.
Oh, 100%.
Okay. And so if we use our search marketing that way, so when I do SEO, I don't do SEO is one of my keywords. How to SEO. It's not, the intent is not there. No. If somebody says, how do I market my podcast on search engines? Whoa, we got somebody who knows what they're looking for, and they're just looking for somebody who has a solution, or at least some of the answers. And then from there, I can go, okay, now there's only probably a few hundred people every month doing that. But if I'm only talking to a handful of those every month, because I don't have all the time to be sitting in on sales calls with people who are just kicking tires. Now, with that said, the amount of who do come through, and if I hit my goals, I'm good. Yeah. That one search term, maybe a handful of related ones to get a few hundred coming to the website. 1 to 3% of those are going to reach out to me. Anywhere between 30 and 50% of those are going to buy from me. Done. Yeah. It doesn't have to be complicated.
It's being really clear on what it is you do and who it is you're serving, and what, like you said, what they're searching for, what is their language, what are their problems that they're using.
100%. 100%. Like people, I wrote a book called The Rule of 26, and it's a website marketing strategy book. And because people are like, well, where do I start? I was like, well, start with the end in mind. Well, what's that look like? Well, what do you want to do? Most people want to increase revenue coming from their websites. And I work with service-based business. So this book is specifically for service-based businesses, right? But it can apply to any website. We just talk about tactics that are more so in the service regions, right? So with that said, I'm like, hey, listen, guys, we only need to focus on 3 objectives to double website revenue. And when we do that, then we can increase, we can do it by leveraging our efforts versus just, oh, well, let's just get 100% more traffic. No, that's going to work until you run out of ways to get that traffic. You want to leverage your efforts, right? And so I found 3 KPIs that if you increase each of them by 26%, you get a compounded effect of 100% more revenue. Do it one more time, you've quadrupled your revenue.
Nice.
Right? So one of the tactics we use is search marketing. It's one of my favorite, right? And so that's where, like with podcasting, I was never like, everybody's like, Buzz, you need to help podcast marketing, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, there's a bunch of people out there who do that already really well. And if I can't add value, I'm not coming into it. It's not my thing. Like I already got a thing. I've been around for 17 years. Like
I got enough on my plate.
Thing. But then my friend's like, so did you hear about YouTube and the podcast? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no way. Now you're talking my language. Yeah. Now I can help podcasters because that's a service, right? And most of our podcasters are service-based, coaches, consultants, service providers. My peeps. I love them. That's the only people I talk to. I don't talk to e-commerce, don't talk to retailers, don't talk to realtors. I don't talk to hospitality, service-based businesses, right? I'm like, okay, if you're a service-based business with a podcast, look and leverage that and get better, then okay, great. And that's where we got the Title Titans. And I think that's how we ended up talking.
I know, right? Love it. Love it. Yeah. So where do like the website part of it come in? So obviously you can optimize within YouTube. They've got their own keywords and all that good stuff. But to me, it's like one of my golden rules is that as a podcaster, you need to publish your episodes on your website as like a blog or as content. So where does that fit into your scheme?
So one of the strategies we're building out right now for us, is all brand new, right? It's only been like a couple months. So we started this, is that we're putting everything with the blog. Yeah. So you got the video. So you have your blog title, all that other stuff. And right below that, right below the introduction, I have the video. So we can just listen to the whole thing, as far as the podcast itself, listen to it. So then there's my Buzzsprout link that's embedded in there, right? Everything's right there. Okay. Then we're also looking at micro content. Got to have all that micro content to push towards that. Okay. Yeah. Then you got to make sure that everything has your website or your call to action to whatever that's talking about. Right. So if you're like, hey, I have a solution to help people with blah, blah, blah. Let's say Title Titan. So it's like, hey, 1 step to finding the perfect questions to ask in your podcast for SEO. Okay, great. If that's the title, that's the title. Everything pushes to that. Once they get to the blog or the YouTube channel and the description, there's a link directly to that landing page for that service. Now, this thing is so new and we're still testing it. We haven't even built out a website for Title Titan or Content Titan because we're like, hey, listen, if there's not enough demand for it, then we're not going to build it out. So right now we're just talking about it. It's all word of mouth, networking, podcasting, leveraging podcasts right now for that type of thing, right? And seeing, hey, is there a demand for people who actually believe in SEO to take advantage of our Title Titan and our Content Titan services so that they can shortcut all of the research, shortcut all of the content creation, shortcut the production process of getting that micro content out there, because without it, you're kind of just going one trick pony mentality. You got to be integrated. That's why I'm an integrated marketer. Like you got to integrate everything, and you always have to be pushing that one thing. And that's why people talk about like, be good at one thing, talk about one thing. Doesn't mean you don't ever talk about anything else, but if you're known for one thing and that flows in everything else you have to offer, everybody's happy.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because I understand the concept and everything, but I've never actually heard the term integrated marketing where I'm like, that totally makes sense. Yeah, I've just never heard the term, but like, I'm like,
you're hearing more and more of it because we're stepping on the gas on it.
You're talking my language.
Yeah.
So what are some of the mistakes that you think podcasters make in trying to use search engine optimization to grow their podcast?
The biggest thing is that they don't use YouTube. They think they can do SEO in the Buzzsprout or they can do SEO in their directory manager, or that type of thing, right? Or they think that they're taking their transcript and they're putting it into a blog and putting it on their website and they think that's working. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are your biggest piece. That's the biggest piece right there. Not being on a search engine, not having your content properly on search engines like YouTube, and or creating half-ass, if you will, blogs.
Agreed.
Like you just need to write a blog. That's like one of the things we do with Content Titan is like, listen, you need a blog, but you don't need a blog that just talks, just is a transcript. That doesn't do anybody any good because nobody's reading a transcript.
No.
What they want is the summation of that conversation. And that summation is searchable.
Yeah. And in a way that's easy to read and process.
With lists and all the other things that go with SEO. Like these are the things that people forget. They just think, oh, we'll just slap it out. It's just like ChatGPT. Like, oh, I need a blog I'll just tell ChatGPT to put it in there. And then you read it and you're like, no human being is going to get halfway through that and think that you wrote that, for one. Number two, they're not going to find it. It's so unreadable. It's not usable. So no, stop.
Or it's not, or it doesn't have substance. It's all like it's words and the sentences make sense. And it's like it skirts around the issue over and over and over again. And I'm like, no, I want nuggets of useful information.
And that's where I tell people, like, you can use, we use AI to build out Content Titan content. Okay. Because we create 22 pieces of content.
Yeah.
For like $100 or like 125. I can't remember the time, but it's between 100 and 150 bucks, right? If you just went to a writer to get a blog, and that includes a blog and a LinkedIn article, right? If you just had somebody write that blog, you'd spend 150 bucks for a good writer to do that.
Oh yeah.
Right. Easy. So how do we make it affordable and get all of those 22 pieces of micro content and the blog is by utilizing AI to accelerate the process.
Exactly.
Right. But you still got to have a human being
writing
the
you have to insert the intelligence and the emotional aspects and the psychology in it and all that good stuff that makes us human.
Right. And that's why we call it. And so I have a friend that does blog writing, AI blog writing, right? AI optimized. Ooh, so they're not cheap. They're like $250 for a blog, but you get 1,500 words versus 500 words.
Yeah.
Right. So you're getting more for the same amount of money and higher value because the writer can sit there and go, what are the 5 things of blah, 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 blah. They get those 5 things. And then they go, well, they came up with something that I wouldn't have come up with. And it missed something that I did. Like sometimes I'll start like, what are the top 10 of blah, 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 blah. And then I go do my research and I have ChatGPT, or something like that. Give me a list of what they think. And then I look at it and go, I don't like this. Oh, they missed this. And then all of a sudden I've got 11. Okay. Well, then now it's 11 things, blah, 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 but it's been optimized by both. Right. And you got to fact check it. Not everything that you look up on AI is what they call hallucinates. AI hallucinations.
Hallucinates. I love that.
That's what they call it. Literally, it's what they call it now. So, so back to the question you asked is like, everybody's looking for the shortcut versus the real, like what will actually move the needle.
Yeah.
Right. And some things will take a long time or money. So you just have to decide, do you have more time than money or more money than time? So when somebody comes and says, hey, listen, I'll get that taken care of for you. And they go, well, that's expensive. Well, what's your time worth? And we forget that switch. Like I always say money, I can make more money. I can never make more time. So if I'm crunched for time, like I just had a lawn care person come, he was like $25 more than anybody else that I have talked to, right? We're new to the neighborhood and I've been doing my own lawn, but this summer I don't want to do it. I got things I want to do. Right. And like golf, like I just want to go golf. And the 45 minutes that it takes me to get my whole lawn done and edged and all that other stuff, I could be halfway through half a round of golf, right? Like I can go do that. Right. So, but the thing is that my wife's going into surgery. And so she's not going to be able to do the things she wants to do right away either. And we have these big flower beds. And he mentioned the fact that for the one flat fee, he would take care of everything, bushes, all this other stuff. I'm like, oh my God,
yes, please.
How much time is that right there? And I'm like, I wasn't budgeting for that. So I basically am paying 50% more than I budgeted for, but I'm getting 100% more things done.
Yeah.
And I got twice as much time back.
Yeah.
And my wife's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, we love the flower garden, but I know neither one of us want to sit and freaking pick weeds doing it. We got things we could go do better. Yeah. We could sit here and look at the flowers and do something
and drink
better.
Mai Tais.
The same is with our marketing. We'll do that, but people, when they look at their marketing, they forget that this is an investment and there's a return on investment that has to happen. So if you're optimizing for keywords nobody's looking up, you're wasting your time and your money.
I know. You don't want to do things for the sake of doing it. You want it to like work.
And it's another thing to say, well, you just do it for a long time. Well, the only thing that's really telling me is that you are your shotgun approach, and you're just like, I'm going to do 100 things over the next 100 days and hope that one of them was the right thing.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
So let's start having the dog wag the tail, and let's get the keyword research up front, and then plan out your podcast seasons according to the questions that are actually being asked out there. And guess what? There are questions out there that Google's saying, hey, if you make a video for it, we'll put you on the #1 because nobody else is making a video for it yet.
Right?
What? So you're telling me there's 500 people looking for XYZ, and if I put a video here, my video will be above all the rest of those listings? Because that's going to be above the blogs.
So good. I know there's so much great opportunity, which I love.
So and that's why we did it. We're like, you know what? this is way too easy for us to do because it's what we do already. We're just making a focus of, okay, you want these questions for this. Okay, so let's give you a list that shows you what is video first. So you can just start making those first, right? And then you can answer all these other questions, or maybe even incorporate a couple questions into one episode, right? Yes. Or have a series of questions to do a limited series on your podcast. And then you can find, and when you do those, guess what you can go do? You can go find a JV that will sponsor your limited series. And then they pay you to make the limited series.
It's actually being intentional with your content and strategic. So I love that you obviously doing the keyword research, you're doing the topic research, the question research. You also mentioned, or I read it on your site, video first markers. What do you mean by that?
So video first is what I was just talking about there. So Google will tell me whether or not they are looking, they give us a marker that says, hey, we don't have video content answering that question. And so, I'm sorry, my video froze there. So with that said, we want to make sure that we basically prioritize that content. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Because we can get the fastest results on the first page if we take a question that has any amount of traffic to it and Google's saying, well, that's video first.
That makes sense.
Okay. Because that means that they're going to put that up there because there's nobody else that has it. If that's the only content and they're looking to put video for that topic in that industry, boom, done.
Yeah. Perfect. There's like 3 layers of strategy all in that. But my key takeaway is for people to understand that you need to be intentional with your content and optimize it, not only just topic wise, but in YouTube and on your website and like you said, publishing and producing a podcast, there's so many moving parts. So to have someone to be able to just do it and it's all figured out for you. Yes, please. Yep. Love it.
Yes. And the takeaway is intentionality. I love that you said that because it is the key word to this topic. Without intentionality, it is all busy work.
Yeah.
Without intentionality, you don't know what to track. Without proper tracking, you don't know whether or not you're wasting your time or what you need to be doing next to optimize what you already have done.
Yeah. Totally. So we have to wrap up. We could talk forever because we're both chatty, but how can people find you and yeah, take advantage of your services?
Yes. So the biggest thing, so if anybody wants, we mentioned about the Content Titan and the Title Titan. And those are two things that basically buy your time back and give you good keywords. Email me at buzz@buzzworthy.biz and just say, hey, I heard you on Leverage Your Podcast. And we've got some special extra gifts when you buy into the Title Titan. Plus, I want to let you know that your listeners are taking full advantage of this awesome content you're giving them. But also, if you're just interested in what integrated marketing looks like and the things that we do, just go to buzzworthy.biz and everything's there.
Perfect. Awesome. You were such a treat to chat with. And I love that. You know what? This is the first SEO conversation I've ever had with someone that anyone can understand.
I love it. Yay. Buzz's work is done here.
I high five you on that one, my friend.
Woo! Yes.
That was awesome.
I've only been talking about it since 2007. So
that's all. That's awesome. But yeah, people need to hear it in real terms that they can actually absorb and understand. So I appreciate that.
No worries. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's been a blast. You're easy to talk with, and keep up the good work.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. We'll see you soon. All right. Bye, guys. Till next week.